But now to the best part of the evening. For the past few weeks, I've had the privilege of interviewing some of the greatest leaders in our country or company, Immunotec. And tonight we have another one of those leaders, Senior Platinum Consultant, John Solider. Are you with us, John?
I am, Judy. How are you tonight?
I'm great. And again, it's really a privilege to have the honor to have this conversation with you. You know, one of the things that a lot of people, that we need to pause often and take a moment and consider. If any of you in the audience have ever traced your family tree, what you're seeing tonight is John Solider is part of my Immunotec family tree. Would you say that's correct, John?
I sure would, Judy.
And you know, when I think of the leaders that came before me, and I think of what the work that you've put in, you know, it's hard to say. None of us would be here without you and the leadership that started this company. So this is why I feel so grateful for the work that you've put in. John Solider is a respected network marketing leader. He has worked in the industry for over 40 years himself. And the thing that I really appreciate about John is he recognizes the power of knowledge and mentorship. And he's authored several books on network marketing as a guiding light for people who want to seek success in this industry. And why? Because John believes in you, and he believes in me, and he believes in people. That is his passion. John, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here with us tonight.
Well, thank you, Judy. Thank you for that kind introduction as well.
Well, let's get our audience going here and get them to know a little bit more about you and why you chose this company. So let's start at the beginning. It usually starts with our product. Is that not right?
What happened with us was I was actually living in Tel Aviv, Israel in 1996, the end of 1996. And my oldest sister, who lives here in Dallas, where I live now, called me to tell me that our mother, who then was 69 years of age, was having a serious health challenge. She would be going in the hospital for biopsies and other things in New York City, where she lived, and that I should probably come home because it wasn't sounding all that good. So I had to wrap up some things in that part of the world. I flew back to North America. And lo and behold, during the 6 weeks or so that she went through all of these tests in the very early part of 1997 by now, when I was leaving the doctor's office the very last time, Judy, I said to the doctor, this was an oncologist at a major hospital in New York City. I said, "Doctor, is there something my mom can take?" Because my mother did not have the full-blown disease that they were concerned that she had. But she had all the earmarks. She had all the family history, the health history, et cetera, et cetera. And her age wasn't all that good either. She was 69 years old. So I said, is there something that she can do? Is there an herb? Is there a vitamin? Is there, something that she can take that's natural? And the doctor hesitated for a minute. She said, well, I have a friend at McGill University up in Canada. And she's talking to me like I don't know anything about Canada. I've lived and worked in Canada even at that point for many, many years. But she's telling me like McGill. And of course, that's the Harvard of Canada. So that resonated with me, of course. And she said, but my friend up there, this doctor, she mentioned his funny name, Dr. Gustavo Bunos. She said it very fast. He's worked with a product and it's showing some good results. And my secretary's got a 800 number. This was the days when you called an 800 number, which I don't even know if they have anymore. But anyway, she said she can give you a number. And if you're interested, you can buy this product. Your mom can use it. I'm not against her using it. It's a natural product and, may or may not help. I said, okay, fair enough. And on the way out, I got that 800 number on the back of the doctor's business card. I still had a home here in Dallas at that time. I came back to Dallas finally to kind of catch up with my mail, amongst other things that I hadn't seen for almost 6 months while I was living over in the Middle East. And long story short, I was throwing that doctor's business card away because I didn't think I had any need for it. And it turned up with the 800 number on the back. And I said, oh, I'm supposed to call that company. Honestly, I was so busy, I just forgot about it. So I called the number and I ordered the product for my mother, shipped it to her. She lived in New Jersey at the time. And she began on Immunical. So she was really, I don't know if she was the very first, but she certainly was one of the very first people here in the United States to actually use Immunical as a customer. Judy, I had no idea, even though I had been in network marketing even at that time since 1983, so, a number of years, well over a decade. It just didn't dawn on me that a product this sophisticated with this level of science referred by a doctor, an oncologist for that matter, at a major New York hospital would be sold network marketing. And it just didn't dawn on me. So we bought the product. I went on what they called the shuttle back then, which is our auto ship today, and shipped the product to my mom. And lo and behold, about 60 days after that, she was getting good results with her blood work from the doc. And I said, my dad had died at a very young age. Uncle had died, aunt had died, etc. A lot of death in our family from this particular disease that my mother also was predicted to get. And long story short, I said I ought to get on the product as preventive medicine because the best medicine then and the best medicine today is preventative medicine, my friends. Do it before you get that call from the doctor that says something's wrong with you. So I decided to get on the product, made another phone call to that 800 number and figured, hey, you know what? I'm going to beat up whoever answers the phone. I'm going to see if I can negotiate a real good price because I wanted some in Dallas. My mother was in New Jersey. And during the course of that conversation is when I realized that these guys were doing this network marketing. And the lady on the phone said to me, oh, now you don't have a problem with that, do you? I said, no, you're talking to the right guy. I said, I believe in network marketing, been in it already. So that's how I began, long time ago.
So, and what was the result with your mother?
Well, my mother passed away here in Dallas. We moved her down to Dallas here eventually, and she passed away January 3rd of 2020. So she made it to 92 years of age. And up until about the last year or so of her life, she was in pretty good health up until about the last year. So 69 to 92. She never would have made it. And Judy, she never would have met my kids. She never would have met my sister's kids if it had not been the case as she got on Immunical. I think she would have been gone long before. So it's been a blessing to our family.
I have to say, I'm super surprised that an oncologist knew about this product. Was it just because of the relationship he had with Dr. Bonos?
It was actually a woman, and it was the fact that, right, she had been at a symposium that Dr. Bonos had spoken about Immunical at and found out about it. And, she wasn't recommending it. She wasn't selling it, but she had it, like any good doctor has a variety of different things that they can offer you as a patient. And it was one of them. So good news for us. Good news for Immunotech, I guess, too, because, we started to build a pretty big business after that.
But what an amazing story, and what a serendipitous story for you. You're already in network marketing. You identify, the industry. You get introduced to this product and you yourself can't believe that it's so credible and so amazing. And then what happened after that? How did you get started?
Well, what was interesting was that, I was sold on the product. I knew the product worked. I knew that there was a ton of, even in 1997, folks, there was a ton of science on this product. What I wasn't sold on was the company. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know who ran it. I didn't know who owned it. I didn't know who started it. I had no idea. So I made another phone call and I met the guy named Chuck Roberts. And Chuck was the then president of the company. And he was one of the three people that started the company, along with John Molson and Dieter Beer. And he invited me up to Montreal. He said, why don't you come up to Montreal here? And he even offered to pay my airline ticket. And I said, no, because I've been in network marketing before. I didn't want any obligation. I said, I'll come to Montreal. Montreal's a beautiful city. And at the time, I was dating a chiropractor. And she lived here in Dallas at the time. She was from Louisiana. I said, I'm going to take her with me because she understands this type of product a lot better than I do. And I had another colleague that lived in Toronto. And he was having some prostate issues. So I said, look, why don't we get together? We'll fly to Toronto. We'll drive over to Montreal. It was a nice time of the year. It was early fall at this point. And I said, let's go and look at this company. We'll go kick the tires, and then we'll go have dinner in Montreal and, do the Montreal routine. And then we'll go back to Toronto and fly back to Dallas. And I'll never forget this, Judy, as long as I live. I'll take this to the grave with me. was John Molson, who I had never met before that day, took us on a tour. And, you do the dog and pony show. You meet a lot of people, you shake a lot of hands of people. They're not going to remember your name the next day. You're not going to remember theirs. But he said, hey, you guys are really lucky. He said, because Dr. Bunos is in the building today. Wow. Okay. So we're going to meet the guy, the guy that we've heard about from this doctor, et cetera. And never forget this as long as I live. We went into Dr. Bunos's office, the three of us. Okay. And we sat down and the doctor came in. And Dr. Bunos was a lot like Dr. Albert Einstein. His hair was a mess. His tie was kind of over on this side of his shirt. His desk was a mess. His office was a mess. He immediately said, oh, I'm so sorry that my office is such a mess, but I just got back from Italy. And I said, oh, that's great, doctor. And I knew he was Italian. I said, were you on vacation over there? No. And folks, if there's nothing else you remember from tonight's call, remember these three things. Dr. Bunos shared the fact that he had been at the Vatican Library reading what Hippocrates had written in the ancient Latin about the human immune system. That's where this product starts, is with Dr. Gustavo Bunos and Dr. Patricia Kongshof and his partner. And I heard that, and I turned to my two colleagues, and I said, I don't know if either one of you want to do this or not, but I'm sold. I'm ready to go to work. This product needs to get out there. I knew what it was doing for my mom. I felt good on it. I didn't have any health challenges, fortunately, but I'm a protein freak. I've been an athlete my whole life, so I'm a protein freak. I knew that the protein was helping me. But more than anything else, after meeting Dr. Bunos, I recognized the fact that Immunotech was and is a unique place in the market because it's based on science. It's not based on hype. It's not based on money. It's not based on anything but evidence-based, peer-reviewed science that dates back to 1975 when Gus and Patricia Kongshof got together. 1978, where that first paper was actually published, and on and on and on, all the great stuff that hopefully you know about. But if you're new, you'll learn about. We've got a ton of it. You saw a slide there a few minutes ago with the 80 plus studies on the product, the patents on the product, et cetera, et cetera. And that's continuing, folks. Started in 75, continues in 2023. So this is an ongoing project.
Everything you've said, John, it's a story, and it's an emotional story, right from the time your mom being sick to you discovering the product to meeting Dr. Bunos. You were in network marketing prior to this, and you were very successful. What distinction did you notice when you got introduced to Immunotech versus those other companies?
It's a great question. And the reality of it was, Judy, that there was nothing anecdotal here. Most network marketing products are a story about, well, I took it and I don't know about that, but, Aunt Sally had this great result on it, or Uncle Bill had this great result on it. And those things might be true for those companies. Yeah. And I believe that they probably are. There's some good products out there. But at the end of the day, by 1997, I was already frustrated with the fact that when you walked into a doctor's office and you spoke to them about a network marketing product and you couldn't prove it, that the doctor said, thank you very much for the information, patted you on the back and showed you the door. Immunocal was the reverse of that because it came from doctors that were established not only with McGill University, but throughout their careers, established, throughout the scientific world, and so scientifically validated on their end that we weren't going to have that situation. And we haven't had that situation all these years. We've never had that situation. I mean, doctors still look at Immunocal and say, wow, I don't know if I want to sell it, but I certainly want to take it. Okay. And that's what I was looking for, because I knew a lot of people in the medical world, both naturopathic or natural end as well as traditional MDs. And I wanted to be able to talk to my friends in the medical establishment and say, hey, there is a real product out here. Okay. I'll use one quick example. Dr. Edward Sholikoff, who's a professor at one of the largest schools in the United States here in Chicago, Immunotech distributor, platinum distributor, and still goes to school and teaches young doctors every day about science, right? He's one of many people like that that we have from the medical profession that have joined Immunotech.
Yeah. So John, as a leader in the industry for so many years, would you agree that it's not always easy, this type of work? So can you tell the audience, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in your career? And what have you done to overcome them? Because you've influenced and helped so many people be successful. What did you yourself have to overcome?
Well, starting out in 1983, when I started in the industry, I had no confidence whatsoever. I had no idea how to talk to people. I was scared to talk to people. But my sponsor just said, "Hey, let me teach you something." He taught me the 10 penny principle. And the 10 penny principle was real simple. He said, put 10 pennies in your left pocket. And every time you talk to somebody, transfer one to your right pocket. And I started doing that on a daily basis back in 1983 as a poor college student. And it worked. And it worked so much that I, went to the corporate side and I taught, people in a company that, grew very dramatically here in Dallas underneath my leadership. And I saw the results of doing that where a person without a lot of confidence, they could talk to 10 people a day. And by the way, when I started, there was no internet. I think there were cell phones maybe were invented, but they were nothing like they are today. They were like these big, these big, gigantic things. And, you couldn't text people. So today a conversation doesn't necessarily sitting down face to face. 1983, it was that way. Even in 1997, it was that way. In 2023, you can have a conversation with WhatsApp. You can have a conversation with IM, with text, with Zoom, with, all these other tremendous technologies that exist that didn't exist when I started. So it's easier today in that respect because you don't necessarily have to be in front of somebody. Like, if you forget to put your deodorant on and you're on Zoom, you're okay. Okay. Back then you actually had to show up, shave, look good, comb your hair, brush your teeth, you have to do those things. You should do those things, but you don't have to do those things anymore. So that's one of the many ways that technology has enhanced us. But, what got me over that fear was the fact that I just started to realize, and I realized this more with Immunotech than I did with anything I did previously, was the fact that we have a product that is a gift from God. We have a product that is important. We have a product that is evidence-based. So if somebody says no, I feel sorry for them. I don't feel personal rejection. I feel sorry for the fact that maybe I didn't do a good enough job explaining it, but I feel sorry for them that they're not going to get the tremendous benefits that taking Immunical has given myself and my family. So I feel sorry for them as opposed. So talking to people isn't difficult for me today because I know what's in that box.
Well, I'm really glad you brought up the technology question because in your book, chapter 5, you talk about how technology is changing the landscape of network marketing, and maybe you could just elaborate a little bit on that. And how do you see it changing? And what's the advantages? What's the disadvantages?
Okay, well, it's a beautiful question, Judy. I hope people can see this. Okay, that is a cassette tape. Okay, this is the cassette tape that launched Immunotech Research, believe it or not. Okay, what happened was they had no tools. They had the product, was great, but they had no sales tools. So I went into a studio here in Dallas. I had 2 doctor friends who I had exposed to the product. I brought them in, one guy from New Mexico, another guy locally here, and I created a tape that said why the medical discovery of the 21st century caused me to walk away from, and for compliance reasons, I wouldn't say this, but X amount of dollars per month. And I started to mail these cassette tapes out to people that I would buy mailing lists from, okay? People who had been interested in network marketing previously. So I started to stick these in the mail. Very expensive, even back then. These cost me about 80 cents to manufacture and print. And then you had to mail it and you had to buy the envelope. So about $3 by the time you stuck it in the mailbox to somebody who you had no idea if it was going to get there and be crushed. You had no idea if the person was ever going to listen to it. Okay. And then you would follow up by telephone. So that was one of the things that I used in those days. And the other thing I used was direct mail. I had a direct mail campaign I put together with a bounce back card. Once again, this stuff was very expensive. So I had to invest money in my business to build it. Today, everything is run on apps. For example, Immunotech gives you an app that they don't even charge you for, that you can send well done professional videos that give people universal access. In other words, if I send it to Judy in Calgary, it's the same as if I send it to a friend in London, England. It's the same as if I send it to somebody in Mexico. It's the same messaging, right? You can do all that for free off of your iPhone, for example. You've got all of these other technologies with videos that you can send people and messaging. You know, cell phone rates now are nothing, right? I mean, you think about the old days, you didn't want to be on your cell phone for long. Now everything's flat rated. I mean, so all the prices of doing business because of technology have come way, way down. What I spent in 1997, you don't have to spend. What you do have to do, though, is network. Okay. So you can utilize all these tools. Second thing, if you want to attract young people to your business, you have to get good at these tools. Okay. You are not going to recruit 19 to 35-year-olds if you do not understand our tools. Does that mean
the
you
cassette
have
tape's not going to work today?
the cassette? Well, that's a funny story, Judy, because my son, Fred, okay, found this in the garage about 3 years ago. And he brought it in and he asked me what it was. And I start going into my Immunitech sales role. You know, well, let me explain to you. That's about, he goes, Dad, I don't care about that. He goes, what is this? He'd never seen a cassette tape, right? Because, you know, think about, you know, we went from what cassettes to those 8-track things to, you know, on and on and on, right? So that's how it's been a game changer. But you want to know these technologies, even if you're an old guy like me, I'm 62. I know these technologies that we have because when I get a younger person into business, that's how they communicate. Okay.
Mhm.
They want to use this thing to build their business, plain and simple. Okay. They want to use this. They grew up with this in their hand, right? And in some cases, even in school, they allow them to use it for different things. So to recruit that next generation of distributors and leaders in our company, we have to be cognizant of the fact that Immunitech has given us some great tools and more coming along all the time. I mean, the marketing department and such, we just have a new IT guy that was hired, et cetera, et cetera. They're working on these things diligently to give us those type of, you know, state-of-the-art tools. Now, does that mean that if you're not good at those, you can't build a big business? No, because I'm not good at those. Okay. I'm still good at talking to people, but I want to be aware of them so that when that new guy or new gal or new couple in that 19 to 35-year-old metric comes along, that I'm aware of how to tell them, hey, we've got the tools. You've got a seat at the table because we thought of you, is what I'm really saying. Yeah. They'll figure out how to use them a lot better than I will, Judy. Okay. But yeah, it's exciting, man. What's happening with technology and now AI coming along. I mean, that's a whole nother, that's a game changer.
That's a whole other story. Yeah.
You know, our kids grew up on the internet. Our grandkids will grow up with AI.
Yeah. Let's talk a minute about the books. You know, you're so passionate about this industry and so committed to helping people succeed. So what motivated you to start writing these books to help other people? How would you even start to do something like that?
Well, it's a labor of love. My formal education was in journalism. So I've always written. I've written articles in the industry for many years. I've also written some sports articles, for that matter, outside the industry. So I've always enjoyed writing. So way back, I think it was 2010, I wrote my first book, you know, called Moving Up, based on the moving up component of our compensation plan, by the way. That's where that came from. That was something I introduced to when we made a comp plan change in 2010. So the moving up idea came from there. Okay. And then I wrote 3 books on moving up, all available. 2 of them are available on Amazon. And then the last book, Leave Nothing to Chance. But you ask why. I was blessed with great mentors. And my mentors, because of my age, and I started so young because I started in 1983, I worked with mentors that worked with the original mentors in our industry. You know, when you hear of Jim Rohn and you hear of Bobby DePue and you hear of Rich DeVos and Jay Van Andel and Dr. Shackley and Mary Kay Ash and Zig Ziglar, for example, and you hear of these people. I did not know all of them. I'm not old enough to know some of them were dead before I even got in the industry. But they were some of the people that really got the direct selling industry going, okay, and made it legitimate and fought the battles with the Federal Trade Commission and other agencies to say, no, we have legitimate business here, okay? This is a legitimate business, okay? They fought those battles. Anyway, I worked with that next generation. The people that they mentored in the 60s became my mentors in the early 80s, okay, people who had worked with them. So when I wrote these books, I wanted to share some of what I had learned from them with the next generation, right?
Mhm.
Not only people our age, Judy, but people in the next generation, that they understood the 10 penny principle, for example. They understood daily method of operation. They understood some of these concepts, because these are the concepts that built the great companies. The one thing you'll find, all right, a number of years ago, I did a thing here to celebrate the 40-year anniversary at that time of the Millionaire Training Tape that my biggest mentor, Larry Thompson, had created way back. And when Larry did that, he asked me to be one of the speakers here at this event. And so I was with people from all these different great companies.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
you know what we had in common? We all understood 10 penny principle. We all understood daily method of operation. We all understood these basic network marketing concepts that we had all gone in a variety of different companies and been successful with. And some, by the way, that own companies today in our space. Okay. They learned those concepts. So I wanted to dedicate those concepts to paper, which I started in 2010, and then I changed some things. And I also wanted to include some stories. We got some stories in there of some Immunotech distributors. We've got some stories in there of some people in some other companies. You can learn from anybody. They don't have to be in our company for you to learn from them. Okay. If they are, great, all the more better. But at the end of the day, there's some great teachers out there. So I wanted to share some of their stories as well. And will I do another book in this lifetime? I don't know. Who knows? Never say never. But it's been a labor of love, and they're all available on Amazon. And more than that, folks, I'm not out to sell books. I can tell you it's been a money-losing proposition, as my wife reminds me all the time. But I
Well,
didn't
and
do it for that.
it's exciting to see your son Fred now involved, and the
Yeah.
influence I'm sure that you're having on him and being able to mentor him. How does that feel, mentoring your own son now?
Well, you know what's funny? That's a great question too. What I've done, I've mentored him, but I've also had him be mentored by some of my friends in the industry,
Mm.
where he's on a first name basis with some of the people that are in my book, and he's met with some of them. Like, for example, one guy was here a few weeks ago for the ANMP convention, industry convention, and this guy and Fred have been talking for about 6 months, and I said, why don't you go have lunch with Dan? So he did. And Dan's one of the top earners in the industry, makes crazy money. And they went and had lunch. And then Fred let me come pick him up so I could say hello to Dan. Right. So I have him. I'm not only mentoring him, I'm getting him mentorship from other people, because I don't want to be the only voice. And I don't want to be the only philosophy, if you will. I want him to get a lot. And I want all of our distributors, for that matter, to benefit from that stuff. That's why I started the Leaving Nothing to Chance podcast. Same reason. So people could hear different voices besides just mine or just Immunotech, because there's a lot of knowledge out there, folks. The best thing about this type of business, you can learn it. You don't have to have been Dr. Bunos and gone to the top universities. We have people successful that teach school. We have people successful drive trucks. We have people successful that do construction. We have people that have come from very, very poor countries that are successful in not only the Immunotech, but within the direct selling industry. And I'm passionate about it because I believe in it, because it's still, here I am 40 plus years in the industry. This is still the regular person, a regular guy. My dad was an electrician. My mom was a secretary. Came from very humble beginnings, and parents worked hard. I learned hard work from them, but I did not learn entrepreneurship from them. They were not entrepreneurs. Matter of fact, they were afraid of entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship can be taught and it can be learned. You do not have to have any special education. What you have to have is a desire to want to learn some of these skills. And
So,
you'll hear all this.
So, everything that you're saying now is just, so inspiring. And what I want you to do right now is, how would you inspire our audience? Like, what would you say to them if they're struggling in this industry or they're not sure if they want to continue? What words of encouragement can you give them?
Well, great question. Let me give you a couple of things. Number one is fall in love with your dream. You have to fall in love with your dream. 1983, I buy my distributor kit, 4:00 in the afternoon. I'm at work. Okay, I was working selling health club memberships while I was finishing college. 10 o'clock that night, I finished my schoolwork. About 10:01, I finally get to open the box with the sales kit in it from the company that I joined. By 4 o'clock in the morning, I was a millionaire on paper. I had these long yellow pads and all sorts of notes and graphs and stuff. I fell in love with my dream in 1983. In 2023, I'm still in love with my dream. Okay.
Mm.
Don't let anybody take your dream away from you. And sometimes that's a family member. Sometimes that's a buddy. Sometimes it's somebody that you love that's going to tell you, that's not going to work. You know, Bob down the street, he joined one of those companies. He bought a distributor kit. It's still sitting under his bed, collecting dust. And he never even opened it. Well, I can tell you why Bob wasn't successful, right? You can be successful. Is there a guarantee? No, not a guarantee we're going to get up tomorrow morning. What I can tell you is that if you apply some of the things that we're talking about, okay, that are talked about in the books, that are talked about on the podcast, that are talked about in some of the Immunotech trainings, that are talked about on these calls on Tuesday nights, that are talked about on other calls that you're invited to, be a sponge. Give you an example. Heidi Sandoval's on this call, I believe, and Heidi lives down in Monterrey, Mexico. Heidi does not miss a call. Heidi does not miss an event. Heidi's business is growing exponentially. She's growing a big business here in Houston, Texas, and Tyler, Texas. Why? Because she's like a sponge. She everything, whether it's an English call or a Spanish call, if she can be on it, she's on it. She's taking notes. She's asking questions. That's how you advance. Okay. And so everything that we talk about can be learned. You don't need any special training. What you just need to do is get the concepts. And then second part of that answer, Judy, you need to go to work. You need to start communicating with people, talking to people, letting people know, hey, I started my own business. Well, what is it, John? Well, it's a product called Immunical. And it's got almost 48 years of evidence-based science associated with it. And in this time, it's probably the most needed product on the planet. And we're looking for people to help us market in Duluth, Minnesota, or Chicago, Illinois, or Monterrey, Mexico, or Calgary, Alberta, or wherever that person happens to live.
Yes.
You tell them that and they go, wow, well, could that be me?
Yeah.
Well, sure, it could be you, Judy. Why couldn't it be you? I'll show you what to do. It's not that hard. Okay. Fall in love with your dream and work at this.
You know, John, this is just it. Like everything that you've said tonight has inspired us so much, right from your mother's story to you getting in the business, to you building the business. And thank you for that encouragement, because you know what we really need that. But you know, the biggest thing about why are we doing these Tuesday night calls is just for that reason, because we want more people to know about Immunical, Immunotech. We want more people to join us and get into this project to help more people around the world. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for this great story tonight. And thank you for letting us know a little bit about who you are and why you do what you do. Thank you so much, John.
Well, thank you, Judy. Thank you, everybody. And I think next week you have, if I'm not mistaken, do you have John Molson on here next week?
We had him last week.
Last week. Okay. So you heard
Yeah.
John last week. John, when it comes to all things Immunical, John's my mentor. To this day, 26 years later, I still text them and say, hey, I got a question. So-and-so's got whatever. And
Wow.
He's just been such a great mentor and great guy. And that's the level of commitment that you get from Immunotech people, be they corporate, be they former owners, now executives, or be they people like Judy and myself. We're committed because we get how important this product is to us, but also how important it can be for you and why there's such a great business associated with a product like that. So thank you very much, Judy. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
And thank you for being one of the reasons why we're all here today, John. Thank you again.
Thanks, Judy.
So this is us. This is Immunotech. And stay for a minute because I've got a couple of announcements. But this is who we are. We're committed to creating a brighter, healthier, and happier future for everyone. As a member of the Immunotech family, you're joining a thriving community of like-minded individuals who share your passion for health and wellness. Immunotech, and you can see that by tonight's call, Immunotech is more than just a company. It's a catalyst for change. It's a beacon of hope, and it's a gateway to a brighter and healthier future. So be sure to come back next week. But before you go, tomorrow night, we have Dr. Gutman Dr. Gutman, Unlocking the Power of Glutathione, and his talk tomorrow is about glutathione and detoxification. So make sure you take down this information and invite your friends and families and practitioners to this call. It's sure to be very informative. And as always, Dr. Gutman never lets us down. He always delivers. And for consultants that are on the call tonight, you might find a blue card in your shipment. If you order 3 boxes of Immunical or more, you might find a blue card in your box. And when you do, you scan the QR code and answer the question, and you could be in line to win $1,000 of Immunotech products. That's US dollars. So watch for that in your shipment this month in July. So that's it. That's all. That's our call for tonight. And again, we are Immunotech. We invite you back for next Tuesday's call. And thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you, and bring more with you next week. Thank you again.